John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to discuss the Spirus Legacy.
Oh,
not Lionheart. Although I do appreciate you wearing your birthday shirt with pride.
And birthday hat.
Yes, very nice. Very
Thank you.
nice. So Aaron, before we get into the Spirus Legacy,
All right.
you were talking about how this week was a big week in the world of the Amiga and all of the news surrounding it.
That's right, Bo. I sure was. Cue the robot.
Oh, no.
He's gone, isn't he? Didn't you have a chick version for a while?
That was a different bumper.
Bring it back, dude. Let's talk about the Amiga news. I got the Gambletron ready to roll here.
Okay.
So, right out of the gate, we saw several. You know, this is a good time of year. It's peaking a little early this year, frankly. Normally in the summer, things sort of hit the skids. But this summer, it started out skittish, and it's crazy time. So, free game, if you're feeling froggy. You got your Pong 4, homebrew Pong. It's free. It allows up to 4 players. You can play it on the Amiga 500. Enough said. We've got links in the Google+. I have not played this week, but hey, I like some Pong, and I like paddle games, to be honest with you. What are your favorite Pong-like games, just while we're on the subject?
I like Shuffle Puck Cafe.
Look at you. The C64, did you play it at on the Atari?
No, I played it on the Macintosh.
Oh, really? Because
Yeah.
that game is well traveled. It was on the Commodore 64. It's where I think I played it the first time.
Yeah, I like I like all of the Video Olympics on the 2600, which is basically 4,000 variations of Pong.
I like your Warlords.
Yes. Would you call that a Pong-like game?
Well, it's a breakout.
Breakout. Yeah.
I like your Arkanoids.
Yep.
Yep.
So if we're talking about breakout clones,
Well, I mean, I am kind of cheating a little bit.
So yeah.
But hey, I was one of those old school. As a young whippersnapper, I will admit to playing a Pong or two in the arcade.
Really? You saw an actual Pong?
Well, I don't know if
machine
it was an actual one from Atari, but they did have the Pong. I like the fact this thing's got the little gravity going on. This looks pretty wacky.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty deep.
Yeah. And also, we had one of the Pong home systems.
Did you?
Not we, but my uncle had one. So we used to go over there and play it. So yeah, I like me some Pong.
Cool.
So Pong, hey, and that's just a free game, right?
Yeah.
So here we go. And this one straight out of Indie Retro News. We've got the 8-bit game of Sir Ababal.
Sir Ababal?
Yes.
Okay.
Which was, according to this, was designed by the Mojin twins. Someone has ported it to the Amiga, and you can see they've got a cool poster here.
Oh yes, I see it.
Looks
now.
pretty good, doesn't it? The poster, anyway.
Yeah. Look at that title screen too.
Yeah, isn't that
that
nice?
is some.
That's the Specky version. But hey, it looks good, doesn't it?
Looks great.
Hey, this might be pretty good. I've not played this, but it looks like it might be fun. It's that kind of. It looks like your kind of game.
Oh
right?
yeah, that looks very. I mean, this is the Amiga version we're looking at now, and
popping and bopping.
Yeah, this looks like it. It would not be amiss in my game collection. For sure.
Yeah, I agree. So some sort of. This is a coming and going month. We have to bid a fondue to the
Happy
good
trails.
the good folks over at GenerationAmiga.com, which I would. It's funny that for whatever reason that site was blocked at where I work. I don't know why, but I would go there on the phone or at the house, and they had some news. Now I believe they had a wacky report a couple months ago that ended up not being true. I can't remember what it was. So they went through some wackiness, but. They had some good stuff. I used to, and the thing is, when you type in Amiga News, they're always right at the top.
Yeah, and their archive is still up and available too. So.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to see them go. I know that some people didn't like them. I like everybody. Hey, we all make mistakes too, except me. Now, here's on the good side of that though. Amiga.org is back up after being down for a while. I think they migrated to new servers, and whatever that means. I just picture people carrying stuff like
there's a lot of
when you do a portage across land. I just people have servers on wagons.
Absolutely.
And they're moving them. That's always
they're fjording the river, Oregon Trail style with the servers.
That's right. That's right. That's the way I figured. So good for them. Because of course those guys got to have them, right? They're way up there. So let's talk about this nutty gimmick here, the Checkmate A1500. Now they had some sort of live streaming doodad, which I didn't get to see that, and I was trying like gangbusters to see it, but I didn't get to see it. They have these cases. I think we talked about these cases before, where you could sort of they're sort of like I guess you'd call almost like a Amiga 3000 or something like that, a little bit small, or a little bit bigger than a 3000, a little bit smaller than 4000. But you can basically take your Amiga motherboard and stick it in these suckers.
Right.
You can also stick in PC motherboards, and you can also freaking put in Raspberry Pis in these things.
So if you wanted to have, you know, your the PC that you work on now, but put it into a retro-styled case that constantly reminds you of your glory days with the Amiga, the Checkmate might be for you.
Yeah, well. The Checkmate's also got, you know, this was that one that was sort of based on the old, incredibly old system hardware that was came out back in the day. You know, which is, of course, we've talked about my love affair with a couple of these for the 1000 that I wanted desperately. This one looks good. I think it looks nice. I mean, they've got a gimmick where you can take your keyboard out and put it in a doodad, and they've got some nice angles. You know, hey, I like the ability to take old hardware and put it in something new that you can actually get some use out of if that's your bag.
I like to be able to take new hardware and put it in something old.
You can do that.
Yeah.
In fact, I know where you can get a crap load of old Xbox cases if you want them. I
can't wait to stick stuff in there.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out what to do with these things. Now, the idea of putting a Raspberry Pi in something like this, or a PC emulating Amiga stuff, not a bad idea. It looks Amiga-like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm down. I think check and see if I think they've already hit one of their early. Are they close to their first?
They
goal?
are just under half of their first goal.
They just came up a little bit. And I think they've got plenty. of time.
They've still got a month left.
So they're looking for 100 large, and they got 41. They're going to get this, I think.
I think so.
Because I think this is a quality product.
Yeah.
And I think you can get in. Scroll down. It's like 158 pounds, I believe, is what they were looking. Is that what?
159 pounds.
That gets you in the door. Mm-hmm. Now, I did a check today. And right now, the U.S. dollar to pound, it's about $1.30. But it's low, isn't it?
That's crazy. I've never seen it that low.
No, it's actually, I looked to see when it was the lowest and the highest. Believe it or not, it got down, you know, into the below $1.20 at some point. So yeah, but
keep Brexiting, guys. We love to buy stuff from UK.
Well, I mean, listen. Right now, if you're in the States, you're in a good position to buy stuff over in the UK. On the flip side. I believe I read somewhere that someone said that these case gimmicks, the 1500 Checkmate, when they originally made these, I think they sold for £200.
Really?
And I'm talking back in the 80s or 90s, I should say. So that's not a bad deal. I mean, think about it. Now, I think these things are effectively a case.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to pay more money to get something to put the keyboard in and yada yada. But this thing has the ability, if you get some of the added bonus goodies. It gives you extra stuff that you can do.
And they're always throwing in stuff on the different Kickstarter levels.
You know how that stuff goes. Yeah. But anyway, it's something I'm watching because I watched the original pitch for this and I was like, you know, this might be something we could get into. I like it. Plus, if you got an Amiga 500, I mean, this really is a path forward,
right? In
a lot of ways. And a lot of people have a 500, but I mean, those things are really tough to do anything with. Now you got something you can have some space to get some action in there,
and something that's easy on the eyes.
That's right, absolutely, Booster. Now. This popped up on a, where did I get this thing? I can't remember. It was on amiganews.de, which, yes, and it's in German, I believe. Is that German we're looking at?
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny, so I just linked it. It's an Amiga ad. It's actually, it's a Commodore VIC-20 ad from Playboy back in the day. It just has Napoleon holding a VIC.
And I want to say, actually, actually, I learned this from you, so I'm about to tell you something you already know.
I doubt.
But the VIC-20 was not called the VIC-20 in Germany.
That's right. You learned that on ARG, didn't you? The VC-20, right? And there it is.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
So, kind of neat, because VIC was, I believe, was a cuss word or something, wasn't it? Yeah. Let's move on to some, there's a couple more non-site related news. So, Duncan Styles, contributor Duncan, has posted this thing about VR. Now, I have not got it. I just saw this today while I was at work. So I didn't get a chance to look at this thing. But he's got a video here. And according to what he's got written here, it's not quite VR. But if you have the old style red and blue 3D glasses, here's a brand new OCS production for Spaceballs. So this is one of those deals you put on the old 3D glasses from the 80s, which I have several sets of these things sitting around. And you can tell by just looking at this does look tripperoo.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess this is a demo someone put. I got to watch this now because I love those old 3D glasses. They were cool. Did you ever see movies in the old style 3D glasses?
Unfortunately, I never have. What did you see in the theater that featured those?
In the theater, I never saw anything. But for a while, WSAZ, the local channel, got into showing some 3D movies.
Really?
And they even had a thing called Sniff Vision too. They did that where you could go to like Foodland and get a card, and when they flash a number on the screen, you'd smell the sniff. And I believe the 3D movies I saw were like what was it? The Creature from the Black Lagoon was one. I'm trying to think what the other one was. It might have been. I can't. There was another.
Can you
one.
do black and white movies in 3D? Does that work?
Listen, don't ask me, pal. I'm just telling you what they had up there.
Okay.
I was like super young when I saw them, but you could also like. I saw Captain EO, and I don't think they had anything special glasses.
Oh, they definitely were not the red and the blues.
No, but there was. I mean, it wasn't like current VR,
right?
You know, but that was kind of a letdown too, because it was just got a little weird. Have you ever seen that?
I love Captain EO. I
don't know.
I saw it at the right age.
So, our good buddy Pixels at Dawn has contributed this, and I think we saw this other place, recreating the Amiga 1200 PCB from pictures. Someone basically took pictures of the Amiga 1200 and of a blank board and recreated it over the summer here, and apparently they've got it up and running.
Yeah.
That's craziness.
I have no idea. That is beyond my abilities as a human being to recreate a circuit board from pictures.
Listen.
Look at that. Look what he's got going on.
That crap right there, I couldn't even recreate. I don't know. This looks like something from like Frankenstein.
Right.
It's all. Look at this. What's going on here? I think he's building some cyborg. Man, don't make that guy mad.
Right. That was a side effect of the project. He's recreated human life.
Holy smokes! That looks. Anyway, we've got it linked up there if you want to watch it. You really should, because it gets downright absolutely crazy. So let's talk about what we stuck up here site wise.
Okay.
I think I just cunningly closed all my windows. I did.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you've got it there. So let's talk about ARG Presents.
Yeah.
Me and the windbag had a look this week on the Mattel Intellivision. I've got multiple Intellivisions, as you may or may not know. I don't have the cool little mini. That one I'd like to have. Of all the minis, that's the one I'd like to have the most.
I was very impressed. I did not know the extent of your Intellivision hardware collection, and I enjoyed seeing that on there.
Oh, really?
I like when you brought it all out.
Yeah, show and tell. The mini, though, like I said, of all the minis, you really need that one the most, because without those controllers, you're boned. So when you're trying to emulate these things, it's you can emulate it, but without the little control pad, it loses a lot. And I think have we played baseball on that before? I think
the last time I was over at your house, we played the football game, which is
intense,
quite complex.
Yeah, it's intense. But anyway, we picked a couple games, and I'll have to say, Brent, I picked this 3D D&D game, Treasures of Tarman, and I had to say, I couldn't believe how impressive this was. And Brent picked a motocross game, and I was like, oh, motocross, this is going to be a dud. And it was awesome, too. It had its own physics engine. It was unbelievable.
Cool.
So these are two games I would have never thought the Intellivision could pull off. In fact, I'll get into it later, but I was pretty impressed with the D&D game here, given the time it was made and what you could do in it. So anyway, we got that on ARG. And this coming ARG should be real interesting, because this was the fans' choice one.
Ooh.
So you'll get to see us, and we did exactly what they wanted, and we're going to take some of their other choices and put on the wheel, including weird stuff like the FM Towns Marty, which is then I get to go around trying to find the ISOs for, but I think I found some.
So it's a never-ending buffet of retro games.
Well, we give the people what they want, because we're the common man show. So next on the docket from local news, now we've got some Dreamcatcher action here. To say this one, much like Daniel down below, who commented on this about 20 times, I wasn't quite sure what I was looking at when I first looked this up. This is Dreamcatcher has brought us a video on Extreme Violence, which is apparently a PD game on the Amiga. Have you ever heard of this one?
No.
And he's got a censored thing up here, so really it's more like I don't think there's any video at all. I think it's just like a speech or what you want.
A monologue.
That's right. Very good, Boat. And Dreamcatcher, he's always got. Every time you think you've seen all the angles, he comes up with another one. Do you recall? I think it was like last week. He did a crazy video on Banana Islands, which was sort of like Rainbow Islands, but with nanners,
right,
and weirder.
Right.
Apparently, he got a lot of feedback on that, which I did see quite a bit. Anyway, he's got a rebuttal or a response video up for that. So if you want to have a go at that, that's linked up as well. that garnered a lot of interest. And like I said, a lot of people probably like me had no idea what in the God's name this was.
Yeah, you're not kidding. I did not know this game existed.
Listen, I know the term is overused, but that, my friend, is wacky.
It is.
So let's see. I think we've covered it all, Bo. Did I miss anything there?
I think you got it.
I think we dug through everything and came out on the other side. So a lot of good news coming out, and I've seen some previews of some games in the making. You know, that gimmick. Mm-hmm. I usually don't cover that sort of thing, but I would wager it's going to be a very good winter in terms of
new releases,
new goods, new goodies.
Yeah.
What do you got?
You think we should come up with a catchy name for the Amiga news section, like A News?
No, because that sounds a lot like anus. I wouldn't go with that.
Yeah, but
that's like saying butt news. Not good. We don't want to be associated with that.
What do you think about when British people call the Amiga the Miggy?
I'm okay with it.
To me, I always just picture Ziggy, like Ziggy using a computer.
Well, if I see Ziggy using a TI, I'll be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, I can't help myself. I think it's what I see him using. TI, because Ziggy's got nowhere to be.
That's true.
I can just see him playing Hunt the Wampus and just kind of shaking his head. Like,
making some comment about how he hates Mondays.
The little cloud,
like
that's
that.
Garfield. Yeah. The little clouds over top of him are just raining on him. He's just like, well, I missed the Wampus again.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with TI. I'm just that's I don't know why. That's the first thing that pops into my head when I think about Ziggy.
This is the only kind of insight that you get on Amigos.
Yeah.
You only get it here.
This is that witty banner we're known for it.
Are you ready to talk about the Spirus Legacy, Aaron?
Hold on. Yes.
Take a deep breath.
Yes, I'm ready.
Close your eyes and prepare to enter the world of the thing that this is.
I'll tell you one thing right there, bad. I could not remember the name of this game to save my life. I had to look at it, and I played it, and I was like over and over. I kept wanting to call it anything I could think of. Spherical, I couldn't even, because this Spirus isn't even a word. I don't know what that is. So, the Speris Legacy boat. Well, this was a game select. What was it? What do you call
Amigos
it?
Game Selection Committee selection.
That's right. So, full disclosure before we begin. As you know, I'm not the biggest fan of these sorts of games. I think that's well documented. That much said, I did not, because I do it for the people.
You do.
I sat down and gave this game hours of my time. All right, now. What I'm about to tell you in terms of my look at this game is from as far as I got in the allotted time. All right? I am no master of this series of games. And from what I've read and what I've researched, this game does not, and I can tell you this firsthand, this game doesn't hold your hand or tutor you along in your experience. It pretty much says, good luck, jerk, kicks you in the butt, and then you just kind of try to figure out what the hell's happening.
Right.
So bear that in mind, because I did not get what I would consider very far in terms of game-wise. Time-wise, I was in there for a good while, but game-wise, and I couldn't find any save games on this either, so I was pretty much boned. And I watched some videos, but it'll only take you so far, so just there you go. But I spent a lot of time on this, and I'll explain why later. So, Speris Legacy. This came out in 95-ish, late 95, 96 for the AGA, and then eventually they released a CD32 version of this game. 4 big discs for this one. Developed by an outfit called Binary Emotions, and we'll get into them in a little bit. Their only other release was a game called Minsky's Furballs, which I believe we referenced a couple weeks ago, but I don't remember why.
I've never heard that title.
Yeah, that's come up somewhere.
Okay.
Published by Ocean and Team 17, the Double Trouble. So Team 17, which we'll get into that later too. 1-player game, and this was an AGA game or a CD32 game. They did not have any other versions, which we'll explain why shortly. So let's go back a little bit before we actually talk about the game, because I think the story of this game's existence is even more fascinating than the game itself. All right. So flashback to 1995. 1994, okay? You're an Amiga publisher, and you see a dark, desolate landscape out there, don't you? Mm-hmm. You can tell it's going south on you, because even the CD32, but this time had been out for a couple years,
was not setting the world on fire.
Yeah, you're maybe screwed. So Team 17 was working on a game, okay, and I believe it was called Witchwood, okay, which was sort of a yes, it was Witchwood. So it was sort of a role-playing game. Let's say which I've never seen this, and I've not seen video of it. I don't know if it exists. They were having trouble with it, and it was sort of in the same vein as this game. But they had spent too much money on it. They were in a bad way as a publishing house, as a developer. They were in deep trouble, and so they were looking for something. All right. So along comes the fellows over here that are making the Speris Legacy. Now, amazingly, from what I read, this game almost didn't make it either, because they basically had almost given up hope on producing this game for sort of the same reasons. Binary Emotions was literally a sort of a mom and pop joint. It's actually two brothers, Ian and Andy Jolly. Okay, the Jolly Boys. In a lot of places, which I love that.
Oh yeah.
When you look up things about this game, some people just say developed by the Jolly Brothers. Okay.
I wish they'd call them the Jolly Boys.
They should have. Yeah. That's better than Binary Emotions. They had their friend Clive McKinnon, who was a programmer, right? They did most of the music. They brought a couple guys in. They had a guy named Phil Butcher who came in to help with game design and stuff. So this was the group. Again, this is sort of your it's the same British thing. You get a few guys together. Let's make a game.
It's a very, always very small teams.
Right. So they went to work on this Spirus Legacy, and they were working on it, and they weren't sure they were going to get anybody to publish it. Well, Team 17 and them came together at the exact right time. Team 17 needed something to put in the spot that they expected Witchwood to be in, and these guys had the game to do it. So they paid these guys £4,000 up front and said, let's get it done. Now, I get these numbers from an interview with Galahad /FLT. Now, we've heard of this guy before. He was one of the big guys on the scene, and among other things, in this case, what he did, he was sort of a jack of all trades, but one of the things he did on this game and a few others was he added the copy protection to it. That was his game. I guess when you know how to bust it, you know how to make the super good stuff. He said, he mentions, by the way, this came right out of, I think it was EAB, that the copy protection he made for this game wasn't used because they couldn't duplicate it to make the game copies.
Wow, it's too good.
He also mentions that he wrote some of the music. All these guys worked on music, and another fellow called Ian Ford also worked on the music. So they got this £4,000 advance, and they put out the game. Okay, and Team 17 was happy. Everybody was happy. So they put out the game. Well, right about the same time they put this out, Team 17 released another game, all right? Because if you look at what they released, Team 17's last few games were they did a 3D what was their
Alien Breed?
Alien Breed,
3D.
right? They did that, and they needed a game to fill in, and then they did Worms, and Worms came out right about the same time as this did, and Worms was a massive hit,
right?
Massive. And the last big hit the Amiga ever had. Let's be realistic. And unfortunately, according to a couple of the guys that were that worked on this game, they put all their bread behind that. Speris Legacy didn't get a whole lot of jack, and it just sort of failed.
Yeah.
And they never made a dime over the advance. And they said the game barely made back the advance.
Wow.
So it was pretty much an abysmal failure. Well, I mean, it wasn't abysmal. I guess it was a failure. It didn't make anyone any money. So at that point, you've got these guys only had done this Minsky's thing and this, and that was pretty much, they were done. But the amount of money that Worms made Team 17 pretty much kept them afloat. They paid off this because they were in trouble. They made enough money, and they cruised on out of the Amiga, and then the rest is history. They're still around today. And just an FYI, I just happened to be doing some research for the show. Team 17 has just went public.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, it just happened this year, which is, who knew?
Right.
Who'd have thunk that? And they valued they valued the company at like gosh, it was like a couple $100 million. I mean, it was. I mean, so and I think they did okay on the offering. So good for them.
Yeah, I'm surprised that there wasn't a news story about that in the old Amiga news.
Right, right. So then we ran into another problem, and this is all going to make sense when we talk about the game. This is an AGA game. Okay, they had planned on making an OCS ECS game to release because there are a lot of 500s out there.
Right.
Well,
would you say that the number of OCS ECS machines to AGA machines was something like 10-1?
I want to say that's right, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got to be a lot.
Yeah.
So these guys got to work. Well, and these guys, if you've got a 500 in 96, you're probably dying for something, you know. Well, they already had the AGA version. They were going to basically retrofit it. All right. Well, they realized something, and this is again same fellow I saw posting before, Galahad. They realized that the amount of work it takes to basically go backwards is unbelievably difficult. Basically, by the time they got around to a feasibility study for the conversion, they would have had to have removed so much stuff because the levels were so big, there'd be so much loading that they would basically effectively have to completely redo the entire game. I mean, a complete do-over.
So I bet a lot of these games that were both OCS, ECS were built in the opposite direction.
I'd say almost every single one. But and this right here, I sort of thought that anyway, because if you see a lot of these games, the AG version is slightly better. You know, it's like, that's nice. It's more colorful. But they really don't there's not a huge difference usually. You know, so this one, and you wouldn't think that on this one, but this one's colorful. But I mean, it
must have had more to do with the size of the levels and things like that.
So, with that backdrop in mind, let's talk about this game, because I think this game bears the scars of its birth. It was a very tumultuous birth, if you will. So, what is the Speris Legacy?
You forgot the name again.
I just want to make sure. Listen, I don't remember the last time when I got that name wrong with that character. We don't want to go down that road again. So it was a flood. So anyway, this is an adventure game that starts out with about 4 or 5 hours of text that you've got to read. Not really. It takes you. I mean, it's probably 10 minutes of text.
It's a long time.
I played. Which version did you play this? I guess I should ask.
I played the AGA version.
I did too.
Well, I played a little bit of both just to see if there was any difference.
Well, I was going to ask you. I know the music's different on the CD version.
There was no difference.
Was there
in the
any
CD
odd?
version
Did they read that text or anything at the beginning? No. Okay.
And the music wasn't different either.
Oh, I'd read that the music was enhanced on the CD version.
I think people always say that, and they never actually do it.
So you read this text, and the story of this text, I'm going to summarize this. Basically, you are a guy who's friends with the crown prince, okay, of this kingdom, the kingdom of Spirus. And the crown prince's brother gets caught doing some dark magic in like the basement of the castle. All right. The king says, no, you're gone. He banishes this kid from the kingdom, and he tells his son to go out and get his buddy to be basically second in line for the throne, which I don't know if this has ever happened in the history of kingdoms.
I don't know.
It probably has. So, and that's you. So suddenly you wake up and, hey, I'm the, prince in waiting or whatever.
Your name is Cho.
Cho.
Like Margaret.
God, oh no, I didn't think of that. So you're Cho, like Boat said, and you realize, okay, I'm the, I don't know what you would call that, the crown prince in waiting. Let's go there. So anyway, guess what happens? They burn your friend. I believe they burn your friend. They kill your buddy. I believe he was burned. If I'm not, do you remember the?
I don't remember this part.
Where he got killed.
Okay.
And his evil brother killed him. So suddenly you're the crown prince. You're like, holy crap.
Right.
So Cho decides to be proactive. He's going to get up. He's going to find this evil brother, and he's going to deal with this sucker old school. Right. And so you pick up the next day in your house. You wake up out of bed, and then you're ready to go. And so
you're ready to go, except you're absolutely unprepared to do anything worthwhile.
Wait a minute. The funny thing about it is, so you wake up in your room. Your friend has just been killed. Right? You're the crown prince. And And so you would think to yourself, so in real life, what would you do in this case? You would probably get some guys. You would go to where the sucker lives, and you would just beat the tar out of him and arrest him, right? Or worst case, let's say no one liked you. You would at least get a bunch of weapons, maybe some dogs, and go in. So this is where it gets a little fuzzy for me, because as far as I got, you just sort of wandered around. I didn't really see. He was not proactive in terms of the mission. I mean, so at the beginning of this, you get up. Now, let's go ahead and just get the elephant in the room out of the way. Someone saw one of these Zelda games, and you can tell me which one it mostly resembles both.
It's A Link to the Past.
Link to the Past. That's the Super Nintendo one, right? Someone watched this and said, hey, we can do that. And they did it. And this is very similar. You've got the land is very childy and cutie. There's all kinds of cutie little houses. The dialogue's, I guess, sort of cutie in a way, and the monsters are cutie, and they're very Japanesey looking, or a British guy's attempt to be Japanese.
I think that's key.
And so you're tasked with, something. And this is one of the problems of the game. Now, you're more of a Zelda fan than me. I'm going to go to you here in a second about this, but the first thing that I noticed in this game is that you wake up, you're in your room, and you really have no idea what to do. You're mad. So I got up and walked around, and someone said, you need to get a sword. Makes sense, all right? And so I walked around looking for a sword, and I talked to everybody. This game has some interesting gimmicks. It supports 1, 2, or 4 buttons, which is nice if you have the C32. Now, I play with 2 buttons, believe it or not, because I use the keyboard to go through my inventory. But it's one of these games where you go up, you talk to the townspeople. Now, one of the things I did like that I've not seen in all games is when you go up to them, there's a little icon on the screen. It looks like a little talk bubble, and then when you hit your button, you're going to talk to the people, and it's the usual shtick. You have a couple questions you can ask them, and as you ask the questions, they answer, and that goes away. And eventually, the last thing it's got is like, okay, I'm out of here, and you say goodbye.
It's very you get one of the things that's different about this game than the Zelda games is that every single conversation there are multiple conversation options, almost like an adventure game.
Right, which I thought that was cool.
However, what's not cool about it is that you get one shot to remember what all these people say, and then you never hear them speak again. Yeah, in every single role-playing game or a Zelda game, if you talk to somebody and then you stop talking to them and you go somewhere else, you can return to them and engage in that same conversation before, because oftentimes what they tell you is important. In this game, you talk to them one time, and once you see that response on the screen and it goes away, it's gone forever.
Well, that's a mixed bag. And first of all, I have no memory. So if they said something important, I'd have been boned. Okay, I'll admit that. The only good thing...
I guess the good thing is that they never say anything important.
The only good thing is whenever you walk up to someone and there's no options, you're like, okay, I talked to this guy. Yeah. Move it on.
That's true. That's true.
That's the only thing I can say that was good about that. So you wander around. Eventually, I found the king. You go to this castle. The guards are like, the king wants to talk to you. The chambermaid's like, the king can't wait to talk to you. So you go up to talk to the king. And the king basically says like, yep, it's the ball's in your court. You're the man. And your guy's like, oh, I need some weapons and armor. He's like, just take what you want from the village. He doesn't give you anything. He doesn't help you. Did the king help you in any way?
Not in any way whatsoever.
Bit. And you talk to the guard just like, well, once you finish talking to them, they're done talking to you anyway. Yeah. You're boned. So at that point, it was time to find the sword. I knew the sword was important, okay? Now, I had been tipped off that you need the sword. Okay, from something I read, you need to have a sword. So I knew that the first thing I need to do is go out and find this sword.
Right.
Okay. I looked for a sword for like at least an hour to try to find the sword. An hour went by, because I wanted to be a fair man, and so I didn't watch any videos or read any cheats. I finally got so frustrated that I had to watch someone find the sword to find it. I would have never found the sword. The sword is in not even a place you can see. You just go behind in this shady area and it just sort of disappears.
So let's contrast this with The Legend of Zelda, where let's look at the first game in the NES. The game opens, you see a cave in the upper left corner of the screen. You go into the cave, there's an old man that says, "Take this, you'll need it," and you get your sword.
Well, they were motivated to have you work for it. Okay. Now, I did come across a guy that said there's a secret door in the side of the castle.
See, I never saw that guy.
He was on the right-hand side. He was in like a dark cloak, okay? So I saw that guy before I watched the video, but I didn't realize that there were doors in this strip of area where the sword was.
Right, because there's no outward sign that that would be a door.
Because there are buildings all over town that you could go in. You can't do anything in them that I can find, but you can go in there.
Right.
You know? And so I was looking for an actual door. And honestly, I didn't know there was even a place you could walk on. So that was something. Now, listen, I'm not skilled at these games, so I'm not going to bury that. But once I had so much trouble and found the sword, I went and started reading, and a lot of people have had trouble finding the sword. So it's not just me.
Okay. So can I talk a little bit?
Jump right in, because you're getting near the point where I can say much.
All right. So you go through all of this rigmarole to get the sword. You finally have got the sword, and you're like, yes, I'm ready to go out adventuring. So you try and leave, and they're like, you can't leave yet. You need the shield.
Yes.
Okay?
I got that.
So you start looking around town. You see these signs that say, or you find out that the shield is in the maze. Somebody tells you that. And so you see these signs that say down the maze. And so you're walking around town, you explore all the southern part of the village. There's no maze.
I thought at first, the area where the girl's like crying, and I thought that was the maze.
I thought that was the maze too.
I was like, man, is this the maze? This is a crap maze.
Right.
So go ahead.
So
I was in the same boat.
You travel, you go along, and then you see this place where, the road kind of runs into a wall, okay? Now, if you've played any of the Zelda games before, you kind of have an idea of what certain items can do and what certain items can't do. And your sword cannot be used to knock down walls in The Legend of Zelda. So it never occurred to me, and maybe that's the fault of me for only being familiar with the Zelda games, to hack away at this stone wall with my sword to reveal the doorway that leads to the maze.
Yes.
It seems like this game is kind of badly front-loaded with too many obscure puzzles, because then once you get into the maze, it's a maze, You've not yet left the village to embark on your adventure, and you've already had several tedious quests to complete.
Here's something that will stun and amaze you. All right. I was at this point, once I got the sword, I was like, okay, is this how we're going to be a game? So I looked for the maze just like you did. I came down, I saw where the road ended, and since I've never played Zelda, I just hacked a hole in the wall.
That's great.
And so I actually got down into the maze pretty quick after I found the sword. Now the maze took some negotiating, because it's got a bunch of teleporters in it that you have to use in sequence to get to the end of the maze.
Right.
And also that's where you sort of learn how combat works. And combat is sort of, or at least I know in Zelda, then you're sort of like you can shoot something.
Yes, and in this game it can too, except for the fact that I never figured out how to do it. Because when I watched a video of a guy playing it, he was shooting that sword like nobody's business. I would try, because what you've got your sword meter down there in the middle, and you hold the button, you watch it charge all the way up, but then when you release it, nothing happens.
I think you have to get like another weapon or a gimmick for the sword.
Okay. Now I will say one thing we didn't, if you're listening to the audio version, this game is a direct copy of so many things from the Zelda UI, all the way down to having 2 item slots in the upper left corner of the screen where you can hold an object and you can hold your weapon. You don't have experience points in Zelda because it's not a role-playing game.
Your opinion.
It is. But you do have, and instead of having your hearts like you have in Zelda, you've got a vitality meter. There are no penalties for dying as far as losing stuff. Like, you don't lose, as far as I can tell, you don't lose any items. In fact, when I beat the maze, the first thing that I did was kill myself just so I could get back to the village quickly, because I didn't want to fight my way back through that thing. I wish I thought of that. Yeah. You collect gems. And these gems are used to store currency. However, you travel pretty far into you're well into the first area outside of the opening village. It would have been nice if they would have put a store in the opening village just so you knew what to look for, but they didn't.
I didn't get to a store. I didn't get that far.
Yeah. You've got bombs. I think there was an error in Win UAE because I could not figure out how to use the bombs.
Okay, I read on this.
Okay.
You have to have a tinderbox to use the bombs.
Oh.
I read this one because I was in the same boat and I was getting irritated because I wanted to blow some crap up with bombs.
Because you can select it.
You can select it, but nothing happened.
Yeah, you get that.
It was almost. It reminded me of the Intellivision show. It's an abrasive sound. It's like the dumb guy sound.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, you've got a score for reasons that are only apparent to the developers of the game. It means nothing. This is not a game that you're going to compete for a high score list. But
it's funny. I didn't even notice the score up there. I never even looked at it once.
One thing that was irritating to me. Now, did you play this on the real hardware?
No, and I'll tell you why. And I'm sure I could have ran it. And by the way, I saw people selling this in the U.S., so I'm assuming they had a U.S. release. But I knew how these games are, and I was like, I'm going to need a lot of save states. So I didn't even go to the original hardware. I went right to using emulation. I used the Cloanto Amiga Forever software because it's got a nice thing where you can just record over and over. And I was recording every time because these battles were kind of tough for me. I don't know about you because you had to kind of get close up, and so I would get killed a lot. And so I was just like, okay, we're going to record these over and over and over. That's what I did. So that's how
you were using save states.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I was having major issues with the graphical display using FSUAE. I would, for whatever reason, every once in a while, the screen would zoom in unexpectedly, and I would lose the score area, and I would lose the bottom part of the screen. And I read up on this and in something on EAB, and they said that it has to do with the fact that the game actually draws outside what the Amiga thinks should be the visible window. And that, on the original hardware, the Amiga, it deals with it. But with emulators, sometimes it doesn't.
I did notice some odd, I don't remember ever losing the ability to see my stuff, but I did see some weird screen switches on there occasionally. So I'm guessing that's sort of what you're talking about there.
Yeah, so just be warned that might be something that happens to you.
What did you think about what did you use for your controls again?
I use my trusty PS4 controller. I use a 2-button.
That's exactly So that's what I did. It seemed okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have any trouble with the controls for the most part. This game has now. It's funny because I've heard several different people. In fact, I read some of the reviews. They talked about how horrible the music is. I thought the music was pleasant.
Yeah.
I didn't get real annoyed by it. It switches whenever you go to like a different map, scene, or whatever.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems with it. I think the graphically, I saw a lot of people complaining about the graphics. I thought, what are we doing here? It's a Zelda clone, right? It looks a lot like Zelda to me. Now, you played Zelda more than me. Does it look like a crummier version? Because, it looks nice and colorful. There's lots of beautiful colors.
This looks like a great Amiga title from 1991, which is the year that Zelda came out.
Look at you.
This cannot compare to one of the later Super Nintendo releases that came out. For example, by this point, Final Fantasy III had already come out and Chrono Trigger. And these are, beautiful, beautiful games. But at the same time, this is a very, very small team. One person did all of the art. In Japan, they've got a whole team of guys going to work on stuff like this. You can't compare the efforts of a huge company like Square versus the Jolly Boys and their buddy from school,
Listen, I would love to just sit here and smash this because it's not my type of game. But trying to be someone that steps outside the box here, steps into someone else's shoes. If Japanese role-playing stuff is your bag, that's what makes this game, it makes it sad for me because the game it looks like it's got good bones. It looks nice and it scrolls nicely.
I thought, that the dialogue is odd.
No. Now, see, we didn't get there yet.
Okay.
I'm going to disagree with you on that.
You don't think the dialogue is odd?
Oh, no, it's odd.
Because that's what I said.
But you were like, it just sounded like you were going to give it the kind of the thumbs up.
Well, you'll never know because you interrupted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
The dialogue...
Anyway.
No.
Go ahead.
So what I was going to say is that the dialogue is odd. And it can be a little off-putting, but what I tried to put myself in the frame of mind is maybe they're just trying to camp it up or something like that. And again, it's sort of like that Urban Yeti, that was supposed to be camp too, but it was bad. You did not like the dialogue.
I watched, when I got as far as I could get, I watched some people play. Because I'd heard some stuff. I don't know who came up with this wacky tale, but man, it's no good. And I knew right away, there's a thing in movies. If you see a movie and it opens up with you having to read more than a couple lines, you got a bad movie.
You hate Star Wars?
Very rarely, well, I was going to say, it's very rarely are you going to come up with something where you have to read like 10 minutes of dialogue. Yeah. This game has an opening. And by the way, this is 96. We can't get a sucker to read this dialogue. You can't do something to, it shows, another thing that I thought was strange is it shows this sort of a aerial, kind of a ray traced version of the kingdom.
What my theory is? Up in the loft, one of these guys had a model train set. And they said, let's ray trace this sucker, and we'll put that in the game.
Well, but why not just use the game graphics? Because I thought that looked, for one thing, it dated it. And secondly, it looked out of place.
It doesn't look anything like the graphics in the game. And to be frank, I think the game graphics look better than that.
I do too. I mean, it's more pleasing. The cover for this game has a guy on it. It looks sort of like Bowie from Labyrinth.
Yeah.
So it reminds me
sort of Legolas.
But your guy, and this is something else I read quite a bit, he's kind of pudgy.
He's wearing this dumpy robe, too, that doesn't help him. It's not like flattering.
Chose a dork.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of dorks in the kingdom.
Yeah.
But the dialogue, I had read this game is sort of infamous with the people that have played it for the fact that it's with so many misspellings, and there are tons of them. I'm not one of these guys that's gonna spelling troll yet, but I mean, this is a game that you don't get to update. You gotta, for God's sakes, how are you getting that through? You can't check all the spellings. The story is goofy. I read some reviews where the guys had went in deeper and they were talking about some of the puzzles, and you could never, I don't know how you could ever beat the game. It seems so crazy and discombobulated, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, all that aside, and clearly you got further than me, so I'm going to defer to you here in a moment, but I can only speak for the parts as far as I got. Is this the worst game of this genre? Heck no. I didn't see a ton of difference between this and the Super Nintendo games. Now, before you kill me, I haven't played those that many, and I know you're going to see all kinds of stuff that's much worse, but to me, it seemed pretty close. I thought with the dialogue they were maybe trying to do a little all your bases belong to us sort of a play on it, like this was a Japanese tale we translated but not really.
Right.
Maybe we're overthinking it.
I think we might be overthinking it.
We might be, but I mean, I'm not the first person to say that. But I liked some aspects. The dialogue tree was cool, except for the not being able to see what you talked about. And I didn't think about it, but you're right. If you don't have access to that information and you forget it, you're sort of screwed.
When I'm watching the video right now, this is like, how do I beat this boss? And he tells you exactly how to do it. Well, I hope you wrote it down, because it's not coming back.
No kid. God, I never would have thought of that. And you're right, though. I didn't notice that once you talked to him once, it was gone. But I used it to help me. It's like, okay, I've been this way.
It's like a checklist.
And there's all kinds of houses if you can go into, but I couldn't figure out how to get hardly anything or do anything. There's a lot of wandering around.
Right.
Especially when you don't know what you're doing. And so when you're like me, who I want something to happen. So when you wander around the whole time, I wandered around for like a good solid hour trying to figure out what was going on and play fair. It's frustrating. Yeah. And I can see where a lot of people would get frustrated very quickly with this game just because it doesn't give you a lot of direction. Now, go on down the line.
I would compare this to, there were plenty of Zelda-like games for the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah?
Most of which were terrible.
Oh.
And I would rank this right up there with sort of the second or third tier wannabe titles that they're trying to cash in on the success of Zelda.
Can you name a couple of those just off the top of your head?
There was a Lord of the Rings game that was not very good. There was a King Arthur game, or maybe a Merlin game that was like that. And they all sort of share those same kind of, you're collecting different items and things. What this game stood out to me because, like you said, the bones of it are sound. For example, when you show up in the village in the beginning, like the village is cool. It seems, populated. There's lots of people to talk to. But you go into these houses thinking that each one of these houses, there's going to be something special about it. There's absolutely nothing in there.
And there's nobody in there to talk to.
There's no reason for it to exist.
It looks good, though, doesn't it?
Like it would be cool if one of those places was an inn, and this is where you can stay and recover your life, like a real role-playing game or something like that.
Could you recover your life in this?
That's a great question. I want to say that there's probably hearts or something that you can collect. I can't remember though.
I never got anything but the diamonds, as far as I got, at least as far as I got into it.
Yeah, I can't remember.
And I never got more than one diamond. Did you ever get because it says diamond time? No, I mean at once.
Oh no, you always get one at a time.
Why does it say diamond times 1? I thought maybe you could get like diamond times 5, diamond times 10.
I think that's just telling you got one diamond.
Oh, okay.
But
my bad.
But you get all these diamonds at the beginning of the game. Nothing tells you what these are used for. You look in the book and they're like, well, you use this in stores. You're like, okay, where's the store? It would have been nice if they would have given you, you raid the village for all of these goodies, but most of the goodies that you get are these diamonds that can't help you until you get further into the game. I made it through the first village. It's a weird sort of thing too, because in a game like Zelda, this is more like Zelda 2. Are you familiar with the second Zelda game?
Is that the side-scrolling
yes.
one? I like that one.
Because in that game you have an overworld where you move around from area to area and then you go into the action. That is like this game. So you get out of the village and you go to the next area. The next area looks like a town, but it's got monsters in it too. So you never really are in an area where you feel completely safe. I thought that the combat in this was sorely unfair. You have some enemies that are just kind of dodder around and don't care if you live or die. Then you've got enemies like the ghosts, which aren't really that harmful themselves, but they have homing bullets that come straight to you. And it doesn't make any sense why a ghost would fire those things at you in the first place. It's just like your generic Monster 101 sort of thing.
Something else I noticed is that when you hit the teleporters, you can teleport, and there's a guy directly beside you. And the second you get there, he's just waiting.
He's on you.
Yeah.
Another weird thing, that you've got a shield and a sword, just like Zelda. As long as you've got the shield like in your possession, you take less damage. But it's not like Zelda, where it was really cool when you have the shield and somebody's throwing a projectile at you, like in Link to the Past. If you've got an enemy archer that fires at you, you hold the shield in your other hand and it bounces off. You see the shield. In this game, you don't see the shield. They couldn't redraw your sprite. They couldn't be bothered. To have this, be holding the shield. So I thought that was lazy. Overall, this is something worth playing if you're an Amiga aficionado, because I don't know how many Zelda-like games there are for the system. It's a late release. Like you said, I'm sure that a lot of Amiga owners were glad to get anything in 96. So it's sort of worthwhile because of that. But unless you're a real big fan, I would not seek this out in physical form, emulate it or just watch a Let's Play video of it.
It's like Dumb Guy Zelda. We need the dudes that go back and fix the games. Remember, they just did Wonder Boy, I believe. We need someone to come in here and just sweep the dialogue completely clean and see if you can use the engine to make something special.
Like you said, the engine is sound, and it's a very impressive effort. I try not to lose sight of the fact that it was just 4 guys.
That's the thing. This. It's a beautiful game. Mm-hmm. I wonder how much the troubled birth of this game gave way to what we've got. Yeah. I don't know how tight a schedule they were on.
And I think that if they would have built this from the ground up as an ECS OCS game, they would have been so much better off, because even though maybe they would have had to make the level smaller, but as far as the colors go and things like that, I'm not seeing anything here that the 500 couldn't do, other than some of the gradients in the sky and things like that.
I assume it would be the memory and whatnot for the levels, like you said, in the load. Yeah. Let me ask you one quick question. Does this prove that the Amiga, even the Amiga 500, even the 1000, could have done a Zelda in 91?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if they would have had Square, or I'm not Square, sorry, if they would have had, the developers at Nintendo.
The capability.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one thing that makes this game sort of fun. It's a what could have been, and that makes it neat. I'm glad it exists. It's sort of like Great Guyana Sisters. Hey, we could do a Mario. Here it is. Is it as good as Mario? No, but they did it. And this is the same thing. This is something that you can say, hey, we could have done this, and maybe someday we'll see someone go out there and really give it the shot and try to pick up the reins. One thing that reminded me, I wanted to mention before we move on. There was word on the street of a sequel to this game. Did you hear anything about this?
No.
Oh yes. There was a guy that this is from the company. Okay, I read this on a forum, I think, and this is from the guys that made the game, and this is some of the stuff that they wanted to improve. All right, a twisting plot the choice of strategy or arcade-type combat, more flexibility of weapons, possible multiplayer, a simplified text interface, multi-language, stronger multi-thread puzzles, meaningful sub-games, smaller levels, but overall more locations to visit, subtler background music, AGA and ECS in the same package, more help includes available, and a full character stats system. All those sound like great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And they were even looking for people. This is from Ian Jolly, by the way. At the time, they were looking for people. They were looking for coders. They were looking for people to work on Spirus 2, and even had his email here. Well, Ian posted again in 2013. We never started the new game apart from some sketches and concepts. But hey, you never know.
The dream still lives.
So there you go.
For the Speris Legacy 2.
I looked this up to some reviews for this game, and the reviews were interesting. Amiga Computing, the US edition, which I didn't know that even existed, gave this game a 75%. Amiga Format gave it a 69, and I recall that the guy that reviewed it hated the music. That's the guy that hated the music. Amiga Magazine gave this a 6 out of 10. Amiga Power gave this a 50%. And they did the goofiest freaking review you ever seen on this. Now, Amiga Power is the outfit, I think that, in fact, that definitely is the team that the Team 17 hated.
Right.
And in fact, I looked this up, and they actually, when they gave ATR All-Terrain Racing and Kingpin Arcade Bowling scores of 38 and 47, and we've played ATR, and it was not a 38% game.
No.
Team 17 sued them. And they demanded that the reviews be retracted, and nothing ever happened with a lawsuit. But they just stopped sending them review games. They're like, screw you. But anyway, the guy, when he reviewed this game, they gave it a 50%, and did the strangest opening to this review. And I read this, and I was like, this can't be right. So I went and looked at the actual pages, and the first 5 paragraphs of the review are this imaginated meeting of all the various people that played James Bond. It's the strangest.
Oh my gosh!
All I can do is look this review.
You know, in '96, if you were writing for an Amiga publication, you were probably hitting the booze pretty hard. You knew what was coming.
It was very strange. So I recommend. Normally I don't say go out of your way to read this review, but this is one. And he didn't like this game that much, but I mean, and his review of the game was real bizarre. It was long too. And then CU Amiga gave it a 74, and Lemon, surprisingly, gave this a 7.5. Which is a pretty high score for them for a game. Mm-hmm. The eBay on this, get this. I found 2 copies of this, both in the U.S. All right, both box copies. The boxes were, one was a little damaged, one was a little more damaged. $11 or $14.
Wow.
So if you're looking to get hold of this, the box looks okay.
How many? I mean, that's got to be a rarity that whenever you look up something on eBay and both copies are in the United States.
Same guy.
Oh, wow.
And he'd already sold some, and he had multiple.
He'd been hoarding them for years.
I think he came across a bunch of these, in some kind of closeout deal or something, and said, heck with it. I mean, listen, again, when we got this game picked, I was like, oh man. But it was actually sort of fascinating. I like the behind the scenes stuff and the gestation and the birth of this game and the effect with the death of the game I found fascinating. The game itself was something so odd that I enjoyed it.
Me too.
Thumbs up for the interesting parts. Thumbs down for the game.
I give the game a thumb.
I give it the
middle.
double thumb up for the college try. That's for sure.
All right, Aaron. Say that I'm an Amigos listener. I'm listening in my car right now as I'm driving to work, or I'm taking the train home, and I'm asking myself, what can I do to support the show?
Okay.
Well, listener, there are several things you can do to help us out. The first thing you should do is you should tell all of your Amiga-loving friends, because you know that there are still some of your buddies that still play the Amiga from time to time and might need a podcast to listen to. Spread the word about Amigos. We want to bring in some more folks to the community. In addition to that, you can also write an iTunes review. Even if you've never used iTunes before and you hate Apple with the passion of 1,000 burning suns, the Apple podcast engine is still the dominant player in the field, and every review that we get helps us be more noticed. So there's that. And Finally, of course, you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Amigos podcast. You get all kinds of cool stuff. You get access to our Amigos Discord channel.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. You can become part of the Amigos Game Selection Committee, which picked this game and all of our games going forward, really.
Thank God for them, because they know way more than we do.
That's right. And finally, of course, you can become part of the special Patreon song, which is the real reason why most people, support the show.
And you're going to get your name on the shirt.
That's right.
The next edition when it comes out.
Absolutely. So, speaking of the Patreon song, last week's song, do you want to take a stab at it?
I remember it. I don't remember what it was, but I knew it. What was it?
It was Eleanor Rigby.
Eleanor, yes. I knew
by
it.
the Beach Boys.
Just
kidding. So this was, we had several winning entries. Duncan Styles guessed it right off the bat. I think as soon as I finished singing it, I got an email from him.
That was sort of a tough one, too, I thought.
Yeah. We got Alan Kebab wrote in with the correct answer. Figgy CTZ and Pixels at Dawn, all winners.
Those guys are all joined on the spot.
Yeah. So this week, if you know the Patreon song, then you can write me an email at john@amigospodcast.com. And if you get it right, I will read you as a winner. So here we go. Howard Nims, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig, Sean Zoe, Darren Lowe, Max Collin, 1419, Barkbid, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, John Cook, Dan Ross, Leaf Kellon, Alan Kebab, Chicote, Level Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Perrone, Ricky DeRocha, Creepy Dead Boy, Figure CTZ, The Slow Norris, Stefan, So Gordon Mortensen, Evan Hillon, Blindo 75, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Folds, Dreamcatcher, Laurent Giroux, Graham Bebke, Brent Dowdy, Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, C. Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Alan Kebab, Anthony Jarvis, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy, Humbert, Stato, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Wong, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
You get real soulful there.
Well, thank you.
I got no idea on that one. I have no idea.
It's sort of out of your.
I like
how
you threw some James Brown or something in there. Yeah. I like that.
Thank you.
It was very powerful, buddy.
All right, Aaron. Next week we have a very special game. It's very special. It's very, very special.
Yeah, I heard about this game, and I believe it's the most special game we've ever done.
Next week's game, Aaron, is a game that I can't believe that we haven't done before. This is we're more than 160 episodes in.
Oh my!
The New Zealand story.
Now this I at least know of. This is a big arcade game, and I know it was huge across the pond.
People love this game.
I know. And this one I'm actually looking forward to playing because I've always heard about it. It's one I never really have tapped. Mm-hmm. So it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to giving that one a shot.
Yeah, awesome. We do record the show every Friday, except when we don't, live around 5:30 p.m. Eastern. You can hang out in the YouTube chat with Pixel Vixen, Dan Ross, Pixels at Dawn, Necronom, Edvin Helen. Who else we got in here? Gary James is here. We got all kinds of folks hanging out with us in the chat. Join the party. Watch the show live. And Aaron, I will see you next week.
Sounds good, bud.
Until next time, folks. Adios.